And we are live. Hey, guys. Welcome to another wonderful session of Mind, Body, and Soul with Annette. I'm your host, Annette Harris. Don't adjust your settings. I know it is a Monday evening, but it's another special session that we are coming in to share with you. I'm so happy that you all are joining us on this evening, and I do ask that when you come into this live feed, if you would please do me a humongous favor, click the share button, throw up some thumbs up, the hearts, your care buttons, if you will, so that we can let everybody know that we are on. Last month, we did a wonderful segment with the panelists that you see with me on this evening. And so we decided to do a part two of I Fit the Description, a candid conversation with your Black men. And so we're going to come and talk this evening with them. Last time we barely scratched the surface of this discussion. So we decided we would bring it back. And I am so eager to talk with these young men. I know each and every one of them personally, if you will. And I love to hear when they actually kind of get into discussions of things that are very important to them. And this particular subject is definitely important. You see, actually, my co-host from A&D Conversation has joined me again on this evening. Apostle Deon Hunt, how are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Annette, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm so glad you decided to come back. Or I didn't twist your arm, did I?
No, you didn't have to. This is it's a privilege and an honor. These
Wonderful.
guys knocked it out the park last time, and I was so thoroughly impressed with each and every one of them. And it was a wonderful conversation, and it sparked more conversations to come, I'm sure. And so I am excited to be here tonight.
Cool. I'm glad again. Thank you so much. Now, let me tell everybody before I introduce my panelists on tonight. Of course, we're on my Facebook live feed that I've asked you to share from. And then also the audio portion of tonight is on my YouTube channel. So if anybody's not on Facebook Live, if any of my panelists have anyone that wants to listen to it, you can go to my YouTube channel, GetCaughtInANet, ANET, and then you can hear the audio portion of tonight's session for now. Once the show ends, then the video will be uploaded to YouTube. Okay? Hopefully that sounds good. Let us start at this top right corner, my top right corner, Mr. Zorriante Brown. Can you introduce yourself to everyone? Kind of recap them from last month rather.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Zorriante, Zori. I work as support staff at Bloom High School. I also am a sponsor of the Afro Club there, and I'm also an adjunct professor at Lewis University. I'm over the gospel choir there. Family man, married now 10 years. We have 5 children, raising 5 children, and I'm also the minister of music at Abounding Life.
Wonderful. Now I'm going to ask you, when next time you talk, can you maybe push your volume up just a little for me?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. But thanks for that intro of yourself. Let's go over here to MLA. Why don't you introduce yourself to everyone?
Love you, my cousin. I am Mathais Lawrence Adams. I am 31, and I am a regional analyst at Morgan Stanley. I've been with the firm for, it'll be coming up on 7 years this February. I've been blessed to be there. And just really glad to get into this discussion again. I'm really excited to hear the perspectives of my fellow brethren and also lend a little of my own.
Awesome. All right, attorney, we have an attorney in the house. Anybody need an attorney? Attorney Jackson, introduce yourself to everyone.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jabari Jackson. Like Annette said, I am an attorney with Cook County, dealing with property taxes, though. But I've been there for over 10 years. Married, raised 3 boys and a niece, and have 2 wonderful grandgirls now too. So thanks for being here. Let's get going.
All right. Okay, you probably seen a new face from last time in our presence, but you saw him on the promos from last month, and he was on the promos this time. Unfortunately, last time he could not make it with us. He had a family emergency to deal with, but we're so glad that our youth pastor from Abounding Life Church is with us. Can you introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is John Purnell, or Elder John Purnell. I'm the youth pastor at Abounding Life Church of God in Christ. I'm also the director of Agile Services for Farm Journal. And I'm also one of the co-founders and currently board chairman of Unity Christian Academy, which is a private Christian high school in South Holland, Illinois. I've been married for over 20 years, raising 3 teenage boys now, and one who's just finished his freshman year in college, about to be a sophomore. And yeah, it's exciting to be here, So, and, this topic is something that's obviously close to my heart, raising 3 boys, wanting the world to be different from what I experienced when I was growing up.
I get it. And we are definitely going to address that on tonight. I see we have a coach in the house. Coach Corn.
Good afternoon, everybody. Certainly glad to be here on this afternoon. My name is Cornelius Crossley. I am a high school teacher, Rich Township. Also, I am the head coach there as well for basketball. Just excited to be here. Married father of 3 boys. August 3rd will be 7 years. So looking forward to that. But just happy to be among this distinguished panel of gentlemen and ladies. So.
All right.
See you guys. Sorry about that.
Okay. And don't blame that on the boys. Might I say, I'm glad to see that you're on the inside today, as opposed to last month. The other panelists will know what I'm talking about. All right, I have Mr. DuBois. We have an East Coaster here. You want to introduce yourself?
Hey, again, everybody. Good to be back. Thank you for inviting me back, Annette. I appreciate it. My name is Mike DuBois Jr. I'm a proud husband, son, father. I'm a girl dad. Got 2 beautiful daughters. Been married for a little bit over a year to my wife, Adele. I am a freelance photojournalist for major news networks, CBS and CNN, amongst some of them. And originally from Chicago, but living out here in the DC area now. So just again, happy to be here and offer another perspective on an important topic.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I didn't do this on purpose, but I have what I always called them. I used to call them the Eminem boys, but they're men now. So the Eminem men are in the house, Marcus and Mathais. Let's see. Look at Marcus. Marcus, why don't you start by introducing yourself?
I'm glad I got a chance to go in front of my brother for a change, so I appreciate that. But no, Marcus Adams, definitely appreciate this opportunity. So thank you for allowing me to join in on today. I really enjoyed the last session and got a lot of good feedback from a lot of friends and family on that. So just wanted to really, continue to push forward on this topic on this evening. But a little about me. I am a senior manager of business sales at Verizon Wireless. I just made 13 years in June at Verizon. And of course, a husband of 9 years coming up here in September to my lovely, beautiful wife, Monique. And then we have two amazing kids. And I have a little split. I have a teenage daughter, 17, and then I have my namesake, Marcus, the second. He's 7 years old. So got a 10-year split here, but just amazing to get perspectives on both sides. A little more things. I mean, I'm a musician. I am the music director at the Abounding Life Church of God in Christ. And of course, looking at mentoring young men. So actually me and Matthew established a men's group as well as a mentoring group called FAME, a foundation advocating men's excellence. That's what it stands for. So we definitely established that about 2 years ago and continuing to try to impact society. So now Mathais out. No, I'm just playing. Back to Annette. Back to our moderator.
Thank you so much for that, Marcus. We appreciate that. Look at Mathais. We saved the best for last.
Well, thank you so much, Annette. And I love my brother anyway. I love my brother. He knows that. He always has my number all the time. But I consider it, once again, it's an honor to really be on this panel. I'm telling you, Annette, this is an amazing thing. I know some great dialogue is going to be exchanged on today. Apostle, I welcome you, sir, and I honor you on today as well. Once again, my name is Mathais Adams. I am the youth pastor at New Life Restoration Ministries. I'm also the pastoral assistant at New Life Restoration Ministries. I am married, a husband of 12 years to my wonderful wife, Deanna Adams. I have two wonderful boys, Carter and Tyson Gerard Adams, 7 and 4 as well. That's why I work hard to provide for them as well too. I'm the CEO and founder of my own company, Music and Arts Academy, Gifted Hands Drum Academy. We've been represented on national TV, on ABC, as well as we have an international student base as well that's inclusive of Hungary as well as Vietnam as well too. I'm also the owner of founder of my own private events company. It's called the South City Collective. We do live music for corporate events and weddings and things like that as well. So I can't wait to get into it and dive into this topic. This is very near and dear to me. And as my brother before stated, I got a lot of positive feedback as well. I had a few tough conversations with people that wanted to get insight on what our world is as far as African American males from other races, and I welcome that. So I can't wait to see. Hopefully they're tuning in today. I cannot wait to see these conversations that all of us are going to have outside of this call that are going to really change people's lives. So I can't wait.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. All well spoken. So thank you, gentlemen, for introducing yourselves. Apostle, are you ready for that, or should I move to something else?
I'm ready.
Okay. What I'm going to have him do is to play maybe like a 2-minute clip, and I thought it was befitting for this evening. You can go ahead.
This is Dr. Hunt. Recently, I, among many others, was disappointed by the outcome of the George Zimmerman trial for the murder of Trayvon Martin. The outcome of that trial was determined by so many different factors, it would be impossible to address them all. One thing I noted was that it was not George Zimmerman that was on trial. They succeeded in trying the profile of today's young Black men. That's right. And Trayvon Martin fit that profile. Let's look a little deeper. A profile is a set of characteristics or qualities that identify a type or a category of person or thing. A profile is an informal biography or a concisely presented sketch of the life and character of a person. The profile of Trayvon Martin presented in that courtroom was that of a violent young thug, while precisely at the same time the profile of George Zimmerman was presented in that same courtroom for millions of eyes to see, of a young Caucasian man, well-dressed, on the road to success. Our profile must change. Every day we log on to Facebook and we look at our profile and the pictures that are presented that represent us. And there needs to be, from time to time, a new profile picture created that represent who you are. And when we change that profile, we change how people perceive us. I believe it's all about the profile. Let's fix it while there's still time. God bless you. This is Dr. Hunt.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for playing that. That was from Dr. Lord Michael Hunt. What year? That was the year, obviously, when Trayvon Martin was senselessly murdered. You might remember what year that was? Help me.
Wow. 2012.
I was going to say 12 too.
12, okay. So we know that is when he did that clip. He was a little, of course, disturbed by it. But I thought it was 2 minutes or whatever, but it was simple, yet it was profound. Let's start there, if we could. Because I know I wanted to ask you guys about your own personal experiences that you may have dealt with yourself with law enforcement, or as I was typing today, I'm like, it could have just been, they may not have been in law enforcement. Could have just been, the Karens, if you will, or, some other individuals of other races that have, tried to approach you and say that you fit the description. He's talking about changing your profile. I don't know who wants to start maybe expressing what they dealt with in dealing with being profiled, just as simple as that. Does anybody want to start with that, or do you want me to start choosing out names? I see some smiles here. Matthew, how about we take you?
That is more than fine. And I know I probably speak for everyone when we're talking about personal experiences, and not only about, the one experience that I've had. I'm just going to use this one for today. I have many experiences that I can talk about, but this is just the one that I'll use because I want to hear from others. But in this one particular instance, I was downtown, had just had some lunch on a Sunday. It was busy. It was a big concert going on at Soldier Field. I think it was the Grateful Dead. So it's a big concert, and of course there's a certain target market for the Grateful Dead. I am not in that target market, and I was not down there for the Grateful Dead. But as I was walking back to where I parked my car, I saw a woman leaning on the awning that comes up from the subway. And she was holding her forehead like this. And I thought I saw blood coming out. Now, I work downtown, and there are always things being shot downtown, TV shows, movies, all kind of stuff, especially during the summertime. So I'm looking around for some cameras because I'm thinking I just walked on a movie set or walked in front of, some video cameras. And I told the young lady that I was with, I said, hey, do you see any video cameras? She said, I have no idea what you're talking about. I said, I think we need to go back real quick and check on something. We go back, and sure enough, this woman, white woman, is holding her forehead, and there is blood rushing out of her forehead. So much so that the blood was trickling down her arm, and it was dripping off her elbow down onto the ground. To make a long story short, I didn't see what happened, but I was the first one there. And so I did what I thought any upstanding citizen would do. I called the authorities. So in the 3 to 5 minute time frame from which I called and the authorities got there, there began to be a crowd that crowded around the woman who was obviously in distress. So now I'm not the only one there. And of course, event police were on bikes because of the concert. They immediately come up see me standing there, and immediately come to apprehend me. So when we talk about fitting this profile, fitting the description, I'm the one that called them and I didn't even see what happened. So there wasn't even a description given to them to go off of, but just because I was standing there, being Black, I was immediately thought that I was the one that did something. Now think, if I just busted some woman's forehead open, why would I even be still standing there? This doesn't even make sense. Did you even think about it? Did you even think about it? The only reason why I didn't go to jail that evening was because before that woman passed out, she told them it wasn't me. And that was the only thing that saved me. Again, fitting a description, a predetermined description before one was actually given. I'll stop there.
Wow.
Wow.
I'm speechless. I'm sure I'm going to hear more speechless stories here. But I mean, I was thinking the same thing you were thinking, Matthew. If I did this, why would I be standing here right next to her? It doesn't make sense.
No sense at all. I mean, it's clearly a pre-programming of what bad looks like on that end. And a lot of it comes from, just being on the job. I'm sure they see a lot. I mean, it's not all because of programming. I'm sure they see a lot too, but there has to be some type of detective work when you get on the scene. Yeah, that was the last time I called the police. I actually saw something similar. Again, I was leaving work and an older woman was laying face down on the ground and she had blood coming from her nose. I saw a white woman walking past and I asked her to call. I didn't call. I kept going. I didn't want to deal with it that day.
And how many times has that happened? You know what I mean? You're like, oh, I'm not doing that no more. One time, then the next time, I've learned my lesson. Oh my goodness. Zorri, do you want anything to share with us? Situation maybe you've had to deal with yourself?
Can you hear me?
Go ahead and talk. Let me see.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I would just say, not really, thank God, no, not with law enforcement, because pretty much the encounters were my fault, like speeding tickets or whatever. But I went to a predominantly white institution. So there are several just cases I could bring up where it was just an assumption before people would even take the time to know who I was, or I was automatically associated with maybe those African Americans who did not properly represent themselves, if that makes sense. And so because it's that institution, they just labeled me the same way.
Wow.
And it actually ended up kind of getting in a way when after I was like in grad school and I applied for different positions as to be, hired by the university, they kind of shunned away from a lot of the minority people who were in like organizations such as like Black Student Union, or if they were Greek MPHC members, they did not hire them for certain positions because it was like, oh, well, we kind of know that you're going to represent this and you're going to bring these type of people into the university. So I can say that I've had some interesting experiences where I've had to vent about it to my wife. And I just kind of learned how to, all in all, kind of make sure I'm representing myself with integrity so that it doesn't prevent me from certain roles or certain positions. And I shouldn't have to do that.
That's true. Working while Black. Let's see, Mathais.
Yeah, I would say I'm kind of like in Zori's shoes as well too. And Master, man, that was powerful, man. I didn't even know that, but powerful story. And hopefully, once again, this kind of opens up the narrative for people to understand that we got to play with a different game, as well. But just to I kind of lightly touched on the situation that in our last panel discussion that we had, and it was a perfect example of racial profiling. Of course, for me as well, I'm an upstanding Black male. I don't have a criminal record. I'm clean. And, to be labeled like that, it really injects fear, inside you, even when you just riding down the street and you feel like, oh, did I get that stop sign? Did I miss a stop sign or something like that? Or was I going 5 or 10 miles over the speed limit? And then you seeing, officers coming up behind you. That's pretty scary, as well too. And that's the thing, for us as African-American males, it's just like having to have that weight on your shoulders is really not something we should really feel. We shouldn't have to feel that way. We shouldn't have to, pretty much, go about our lives and looking over our shoulder if, for police, like with Matthew's situation, he was trying to be a good citizen and do something, that is really what he should be doing as a federal citizen and really get, and he's getting really, put in a situation where he's looking like he's the criminal as well too. But I can definitely say I've had more situations to where I've been in environments, once again, if I have a t-shirt and jeans on versus if I have a suit and tie on. That's really where I've seen that imbalance as far as with the racial profiling and treatment and things like that. And it's sad because, for us, we got to almost overcompensate just to fit in, and we shouldn't have to do that as well too. So I would say for me, more of the balance has been me just kind of being profiled a different way, whether I be in corporate environments or just anywhere else, or talking with clients and things like that. You always, as us, we got to come in and we got to overwork. We got to overpronunciate our words. We got to say complete sentences. We got to do everything has to be extra, for us to really get that. I don't know. I guess to somewhat feel like they give us respect, as well. So that's kind of my insight right there.
Okay. Michael.
Hey, I'm just listening to a lot of these harrowing stories. It's crazy, absolutely crazy. My question is why us? You know what I'm saying? Why are we the only ones that have to prove to everyone else? No other culture is asked to code switch. No other culture usually, maybe Hispanics, have to deal with fitting description on a daily basis. You know what I'm saying? Why us? Especially when, I'm not trying to sound too militant, but we built this country. You know what I'm saying? And in a lot of ways, one would think, I don't know, one would think, okay, I come into a situation, let me at least assess it. You know what I'm saying? I remember a story, kind of similar, Matt, to where an older African-American couple, I don't remember the exact circumstances, but there was a call of a stolen car coming in, and their son was out in the driveway with his mom, and the cop ran up on scene and just started basically assaulting the mother, trying to apprehend her, whatever. And he saw his mom in physical distress at the hands of this cop. And he told the cop, "Get your hands off my mom." And literally the response was, he didn't approach the cop or put his hands on him. He just said, "Get your hands off of my mom." Cop turned around and shot him straight in the chest. He survived, thank God. But my point is, and when they eventually found out what the situation was, the call for the stolen car, the license plate was one number off. So he misheard, happened to see the wrong car, immediately assumed, and this was all happening on their property, by the way, on the black couple's property. So I'm saying all to say, who else has to deal with that? When have you ever heard a Caucasian couple have to go through something like that? When have you ever seen a situation where, recently in the news, 45 said, I don't call him by his name, but 45 said, white people get killed just as much. He's now putting that out. you know, just as much as blacks. When have you heard some of these stories, though? When have you seen some of the same per capita numbers on whites versus blacks? It just only in America. So I know I didn't specifically answer the question because thank God I haven't had a crazy story like that with as far as Matt. But I've dealt with it on the workplace. I kind of mentioned that last time. You know what I'm saying? Where I'm literally, you know, doing my job, credentials in plain view in sight, and I'm walking, only black male walking down the street in a secure area, and I'm the only one that gets asked, what am I doing? Like that's happened before to me, but I feel like this is not that we're comparing stories. I feel like, you know, whether it's my story, Matt's, but there's anybody, this is unacceptable. And again, I'm just asking the question, who else has to deal with this?
Yeah. Thank you, Michael. That's a great question. As I'm sure that's been at the back of so many of our minds before. Cornelius, you look like you're in deep thought. I know that's your look anyway, but do you have anything you want to share with us?
I mean, again, those stories that were shared were sometimes I meet my family members, and I didn't even know that they had experienced those. So man, it's just amazing. I just remember times being in college. You know, I come home from an event, and I remember just walking through the quad area, and you know, I never forget I had on an all black outfit, and to this day I will never wear all black. When I'm outside, anytime I'm outside at night, I will never ever wear all black, and it's because of this event. And I was just walking back to my dormitory, and you know, one of the campus police just happened to ride up behind me, and you know, I wasn't running, and they literally asked me, "Have you robbed the gas station tonight?" And you know, again, you fit the description. And you know, this was like my first real experience with law enforcement, feeling like, okay, what does this mean? Like I was so bewildered. Like I don't know what you're talking about. I've never even been associated with any type of petty theft, you know, let alone, you know, robbery. And they literally like searched me, you know, and was like, hey, you know, you fit the description of a guy who robbed, you know, the campus gas station. And I was just like, nah, I'm going back home to my dormitory. And, you know, I wasn't running. And I believe, you know, I mean, I could have been, you know, having fun, doing anything, you know, as a college student. We used to do random things in the quad. I remember playing tag or even flag football, but I just often wonder, had I been like going for a jog or something, or just doing something regularly, what that might have ended up being, you know, what the result of that situation would have been. So from that standpoint, it really shook me up. And I never really kind of thought about it until now. Like, wow, that I was profiled and never really thought about it. And, you know, I just was thankful that I was able to walk away from the situation. But kind of like whatever, like what Mike was saying, you know, who else has to deal with this? You know, it's almost like, you know, when I'm driving in my car, you know, and I see, you know, police, I immediately decelerate. You know, I go to 10 and 2. You know, if I happen to have a baseball cap on, I'm taking it off. You know, I'm going through all these checklists, you know, making sure, I literally will ride 2 car lengths behind the squad car just to make sure I don't pass them, you know, kind of like everybody else, just checking, making sure that, you know, hey, I want to make sure I'm not doing anything that can look suspicious, you know, because a quick swerve or, you know, a late turn signal can easily turn into a stop. And, you know, you just feel like you have to play, like Mathais said, you know, you're playing a different game. And, you know, being, you know, African-American, you're just literally just trying to get home safe. Every day you drive, you're just like, look, what can I not do, or what can I attempt to do to make sure I come home to my wife, to my boys, and to make sure that, hey, you know, I'm doing things properly, you know. And it's like, I shouldn't have to tailor myself to this cookie cutter, whatever you want to say, view of how we should look in order to feel like, you know, I'm safe, or feel like, hey, you know, I won't get attacked. So, I mean, yeah, this is something that definitely is something I've dealt with. So I'm just literally just listening to everybody's stories, because you just never know. Everybody has different perspectives. But no, I definitely understand where everybody's coming from as far as, hey, you fit the description. So that's my 2 piece. You know, I've experienced that. It really shook me up. It really shook me up.
Youth pastor?
Yeah, I'm kind of like Matthew. I've had so many stories. I don't even know where to start. It was so bad, and grew up in Country Club Hills, and I lived a block, 2 blocks from the police station. It was so bad that coming up, as those of you who know me, I'm the youngest in the group, so I was always the youngest. I hung out with Jabari and others, and so I didn't have my license yet or anything like that, and so I couldn't drive. So we're like, oh, we're gonna go do whatever. I'd be like, hey, who's gonna pick me up? And everybody would look at each other because nobody would even want to come and get me, because they knew that if you were a black male and you drove past the police station, you were going to get stopped. And there was only one person that would come and get me, and he would hang his father's IDs and stuff from his rearview mirror to make it look like, he was a professional. He had all kind of stuff to try to get through. There was a time I got stopped walking to go play tennis, and I was carrying a tennis racket, and a police officer stopped me, asked me what was I doing. I guess a black guy can't play tennis. There was a time me and Jabari and another young man, we were leaving the basketball courts playing basketball in Jabari's car, and we got pulled over. What are you guys doing? Dude, you can literally throw a rock and hit the basketball court from the police station. I mean, everybody who knows Country Club Hills, the courts aren't right there, and it's like, dude, obviously we're playing basketball. There was probably I was in college. We were helping a young lady move out. She was going back home, and the police came and jumped one of the brothers that I was with, yelling at him, cursing him out, until they found out that, we were loading up her equipment, her stuff out of her dorm room. And then they, tried to apologize. Probably the worst event, though, was I was driving. Caleb was born in 2004. So my grandmother was in the hospital in 2004, and she was at Rush, and I was just trying to, or Cook County, one of the two. And I was trying to go see her and take her card. And in my mind, my mom had given me Rush, but for some reason I heard Rush, but was thinking Trinity, right? So, which, is like on 87th Street or 95th Street around there. And, Rush is, way up north by downtown. So I go and I'm driving and I get off the expressway and I'm like, this isn't right. Why am I coming here? This is the wrong hospital, so I turn around and I get back on the expressway. But because of how I got off, I got back on going south instead of north. So I'm like, so I had to get off the expressway and get back on going north. And so I get back off and I get back in the lane and I'm about to get back on going north, and the police pull up behind me. And I pull over and I'm checking. I'm like, okay, my seatbelt's on. I know I wasn't speeding because I've just been on this side street, and and so I'm not in any car that's tricked out. I'm driving my wife's white Geo Metro. So 4-cylinder, not cool, no window tint, no nothing. Crank, the window down. As police officer, license, registration, always, yes, sir. How can I help you? What are you doing? I'm like, what do you mean what I'm doing? Yeah. We saw you get on and get off the expressway. Why are you getting on and getting off the expressway? I'm like, what? I'm trying to go see my grandmother in the hospital, and I got the hospitals mixed up, and I go to reach to grab the card that I have in the passenger seat to show them, because get well, grandma, all of that on there. And when I reach to grab it, I look out the corner of my eye through the passenger window, and there was another officer who had his gun drawn through the passenger's window at my head. And I was like, whoa, like, hey, what's going on? I'm like, look, you can see the card on the seat, so I stopped reading. I'm like, you see the card on the seat? I'm going to the hospital. I just got my hospitals mixed up. So, run the place, this, that, and the other, and blah, 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 blah. And so you just think about how quickly, my wife was pregnant at the time with the second child. She could have been a widow with 2 boys. My parents could have lost a son. And then, of course, my grandmother ended up passing in December, and then losing a parent, all because a Geo Metro got off the expressway going the wrong way. I mean, like, it doesn't make sense. There's no amount of logic to it. I used to travel. I was a consultant for years. Traveled to New York once, or a lot, but on this one particular occasion, I needed a new coat. It was getting cold. And I was like, I'll just go in this, structure store and get a coat. I like structure. New York, I'm living the life. I'm traveling. I could do a little shopping. And, went in. Lady met me at the door. How can I? I'm like, I'm just looking. I'm looking for coats. I'm good. Oh, okay. 30 seconds later, she's back. I'm like, look, fine. I wanted either this kind of coat or that kind of coat. So she's grabbing the coats for me. Now let me grab the coat. Other people come in. Nobody's getting any attention, So at this point, I'm like, okay, I got you. And then she made a comment. Now, mind you, I'm in New York on business. So I'm full. This isn't even dress. Like, I'm full business shirt, blazer, slacks. I was always taught to always dress for the position that you want to be in. So, so if my position was a dress shirt, I wore a dress shirt and a blazer. If it was dress shirt and a blazer, then I put on a tie. I always did one more. So here I am. I mean, I'm dressed. I got my briefcase, to the 9, and still this, that, and the other. And one particular coat I liked, she was like, "Are you sure? That's $300. And I'm like, you know what? Yeah. And then I said, so what I did was I bought that coat and another coat. And then when I was walking out, I said, you know what? I changed my mind. I want to spend this money someplace else. And I made them give me a refund. And just to let them know, like, yeah, I can afford this coat and that coat. But y'all ain't finna get my money here. Yeah. So, man, and that's just, there's so many more. That's enough.
That's deep. That's almost like them following us around the Harris Supply place.
Oh yeah.
Can I say something on that?
You can. Yeah. I see you, Marcus.
Isn't it amazing that no matter what you do, and see, this is a mindset of a Black male. You can't win for losing in situations like that. And no matter what you do, if there's any discrepancy in your story, like you said, you forgot which hospital you're going to, that makes you suspicious because your story is not lining up. But then also, if you cross all your T's and dot all your I's, I saw a story in a video where a young man was being pulled over because he was driving 5 miles under the limit. And the speed limit is 35. He's doing 30. He didn't go over 35. But the officer said, you're suspicious because you're not driving the speed limit. And he said this, I gave you an option to pass me, an opportunity to pass me, and you didn't drive past me. So that makes you suspicious. Now, every man on this panel knows you do not drive past a police officer. You just don't do it. I don't care. He can be, you don't pass him on the road. Okay. Whatever speed limit he's going, you do that, and
slower.
And so it's like no matter what we do, and even if we cross all our T's and dot our I's, then we're being suspicious because we're doing everything right. And so it's really a no-win situation for us, and it's agonizing to be in that mindset all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? I hear you, and I totally agree. Now I'm a woman, and I know I don't go past a police officer. Matter of fact, if I'm driving and I see them in my rearview mirror, my stomach does this. It just drops.
Yeah.
And especially, don't let me see sirens. I'm like, Jesus, I know I'm not speeding. I'm already praying, right? But like Michael said, why should we have to be like that? Why? I mean, what is there anything that we can do? I mean, we don't want to feel helpless, like this is how we have to live for the rest of our lives. You know, I mean, is somebody feeling me? You understand me?
Yeah. I mean, I think we live in a, God is blessing, and right now, given, and I think it's very timely that, we saw the Trayvon Martin video at the beginning, because that really was the beginning. And the culmination of what started with Trayvon Martin was George Floyd. And that was the tipping point where you had Trayvon Martin, and it was one person's word against another in the assassination. And then through the improvement in technology, you fast forward to George Floyd, and you have the whole encounter on video, so that there can be no changing of the police report later. I mean, how many times do we see where the police report doesn't match the video? Even the police's own video, right, when they make the mistake and don't say that their vest wasn't working, and all of that stuff, but we're living in a time right now where we do have an opportunity to change things, and it doesn't have anything to do with us, because like Apostle was saying, whether we're dressed perfectly or whether we're just relaxing in sweatpants and a t-shirt, whether we're walking, driving, working, sitting in our own house, none of these things will do it. But what we can do now that a light is shown on it is to be active and continuing to call on society to change, for society to shine a light on these instances, so society realizes, you know what, why do we look at them and see something different, and we don't see the six-figure earning professional when he walks into a store in New York? How come we don't see a professional entrepreneur when Mike is the only African American, in a secure area, amongst the leadership of our country? How come we don't see, lawyers, attorneys? I mean, you have, and it's amazing. I look at this panel, and these brothers are humble. Like, we could spend a whole show on each one of these brothers. You look at Matthew, this man right here, he was like, I'm at Morgan. Like, listen, I'm not going to, but this brother just don't work at this financial institution, right? You know what I'm saying? You look at Marcus, like, oh yeah, I work at, Verizon. No, you know what I'm saying? Let this brother tell us this. He just ain't some dude at Verizon. Cornelius, who, like, coach, the process, those of us here, this isn't just, some random, coach. I mean, these brothers on here, all of them, I could do that for everybody on here, are, blessed beyond measure. They're professionals beyond measure. They're not only excelling in their jobs, but in their society, they give back, they spend time, they love their families, their wives, their children. If they're still single, which I believe is only one of them, I look at what he does with his nieces and nephews. I mean, like his own kids. Like these, you can't get a better group of young men. And if we are experiencing this, if we have to put up with this,
Yep.
Yeah.
then imagine. I mean, imagine. It's crazy. So what we have to do is we have to shine a light. This program will help to shine a light so people to understand what's going on. We have to be active. You know, Mike said not to be militant. Okay, don't be an activist. We have to understand, like, you know, hey, laws need to change. If you look at even the history of policing and how it has its ties back to slavery and, you know, stopping, catching escaped slaves. I mean, when you look at how the whole country and the very foundation of this country has evolved, it has evolved in such a way that we have always been seen and considered to be the enemy. We've always been seen as violent, as animals, as almost superhuman, right? Superhuman, you know, sexually, superhuman physically, superhuman, you know, this, that, and the other. I walk down the street, a white guy walks down the street, instantly I'm menacing. I can have on the exact same outfit, drive the exact same car, you know what I'm saying? Have the exact same everything. And the police will be afraid of me. And the only thing that'll be different will be my skin color. And so we have to just continue to show people, and we have to get to a point where it's no longer acceptable, you know, and we're at a place now where, you know, we can do it and hopefully people will listen.
You know, just kind of, if I just a couple of points, just kind of piggybacking off of that, you know, this country, even though, you know, we're all a part of it, but this country is still very segregated. And, you know, I was watching TV last night and I forget what show it was, but I think it was maybe talking about some study they did in Pittsburgh and the images of African-American males that you see on TV in Pittsburgh. I think, you know, they said like maybe 72 or 75% of the images you see of an African-American male was either an athlete or a criminal. So, you know, basically somebody's watching TV 3/4 of the time that they see one of us, we're either athletes or criminals, you know, because they're not interacting with us regularly, you know, because everybody's in their own section, or, you know, they don't have to interact with us daily. So they go by what they see on TV. Their ideas and perceptions of us are formulated by what they see and what they hear. And, you know, again, for the most part, that's either athlete or criminal. So it gets to the point where what happens with Matthew, well, you know, we're not playing a football game, so he must be the criminal. Or, you know, so when things like this happen, yeah, you know, law enforcement, they default to you default to your prior experiences, you default to what you've been through, you default to what you see. And if you haven't interacted with us or the guys on this panel, like John was saying, and you haven't interacted with us as lawyers, as bankers, as pastors, as youth leaders, as band players, coaches, you know, then you're going to view us as your first instinct is going to be that he's a criminal. And, you know, and I think a lot of that is what goes into, you know, what happens or their perceptions of us or how we're viewed and how we're seen. And as thus, and I think it was Mike who was saying, you know, how is it, or no, it's Apostle, how is it that you can do everything right, but still be seen and labeled as such, as a criminal? And, you know, and I think a lot of it it just has to do with, how we're viewed, how we're seen, on TV. And that's why, I might be dating myself a little bit, but, when the Cosby Show was on and just, seeing that family and what they did, and it was just regular family and, but they weren't athletes. They were out there. The mother was a lawyer. The father was a doctor, and the kids were just being, it was like groundbreaking. And because you didn't see that with African-American families. And, I think a lot of that is, it's just that perception that, others have of us based on what they see on TV or what they see on the internet, and just what they see out there in social media, just like what was played at the beginning, it's that perception. That's a tough thing to overcome because you're bombarded with that every day. Every single day, they're bombarded with that. And if they're not talking with us and interacting with us, then that's how their perceptions are formed. That's how their ideas of us are formed. And it's tough to overcome that in a split second action.
So they don't know you. They don't know the real you. Like, who's that? Mr. Merritt, Tyler Merritt. He actually did a "This Is Who I Am" challenge, or is challenging people to do videos to tell people who you are. Mm-hmm. He's the same one that did that video, "Before You Call the Cops, Let Me Tell You Who I Am." I'm paraphrasing that. Mm-hmm. That's basically what he did. So that, kind of piggybacking off of what you were saying, Attorney Jabari, about that they don't know you. So yes, I always say, when the mind does not know the answer, it's going to create the answer.
Right. That's a good way of putting it.
And so if they don't know you, John, Zori, Jabari, all of you, they don't know you, they're gonna, like you said, with Matthew, they didn't see him playing football, so he must be, a threat. He must be, one that is going to do me some harm. Marcus, I want to hear from you. I don't know if you want to piggyback off of what Jabari said, but I need to hear from you right now.
Oh, I appreciate it. I definitely will piggyback in that aspect. I think I've tried to challenge what it is for other races to not view us in that way, that perception. And I think some things that says not being racist is not enough. I think sometimes other races just be like, "Oh, I'm not racist," and they don't do anything about it. They have to challenge that. Since that last show, I've talked to, Caucasian and Asian and every other, race around this content we were delivering. And a lot of them just said, "Wow, I didn't understand that was there." Or a lot of them said, I had to even challenge my own parents to say, "Don't say that," or "Don't say these things about an African-American or a Black man," because that's how they were taught, the lineage, generational, things that they just have been given. So, I think, a lot of my friends, and I have a lot of different races of friends, but I think that was the main thing is, yeah, hey, I'm not racist, but we need more than that. We need more, we need them to have compassion around what we're going through, and I think that was something that, I really wanted to make sure, we all, portray tonight is, that's how you continue it. I agree with Pastor John. This is not just a moment in time. We need to create a movement out of this. This is not just something we sit and just say, "Oh, this happened in 2020. This is a movement that we have to continue. We got to continue the conversation, and we have to be bold enough to highlight, to John's point, what Black men are, and not just athletes, not just, criminals and things like that. So, I ask that not just the panel here, but every Black man be bold about who you are, where you are, what you, not bragging or boasting, but you got to understand a lot of the trends that happen in America start with Black people. It starts, and you think That's about right. sagging pants. It's like the white boys out there sagging their pants. Not saying that that's what we want. I'm just showing you that what that's we right. get stereotyped of what we can't do, they're doing. The Jordans, the fitted caps. You know what I'm saying? Like all of that stuff started with us anyway, you know, and
then
it's
they
like,
get
you know,
they get the money from it.
You're right. Exactly. So it's like, you know, let's trend set something different. We know we can trend set. We know what we can do. And it was funny, the video at the top from Dr. Hunt, you know, that profile, that suit and tie or that shirt, and we shouldn't have to, but my point is, you know, there's many times we can be more bold about who we are, not what we have, but who we are. And I think sometimes Black men, we try to portray what we have, and it's not about what, it's about who. And I think that's really what we have to really turn the narrative around of saying, who am I? How do, you know, what kind of man, how do I think? How do I approach situations? How do I react? But I'm enjoying everybody tonight. I really have been silent because that's how I learn. You know, I really want to absorb, digest, and really just understand, because my mind doesn't just sit at the problem. It goes straight to a solution. It says, okay, I'm hearing all of these things that are happening, but what can I don't want to just have a Facebook message that says Black Lives Matter, but I want to actually, you know, take on a challenge and present something to society that makes me more bold of who I am, not what I have. So that was what I had.
I love it. I'm sure all of you heard some things in what he said, but you know what I heard? It's time for that change. It's time for that shift. I heard that as you were talking. And typically when I'm doing my shows and, you know, I'm planning them out and I have my questions or whatever, but it always comes down to, for me, we need a resolve. We need to find a resolve. So thank you for that challenge tonight, Marcus, not just to the panel, but to everybody. But you know what? I'm going to throw this in here, and I think Mike wants to make a point, and then we can move further from there. You all, I'm looking at Black men. You are our heads. And when you move and take that step as the head, hey, I'm following you as your sister, as your cousin, as, you know, I'm there because you're leading me. So we're following your lead. So that's something to think about as well. I love that challenge. Thank you for that. Michael.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. There's a lot of stuff being said, like my point 10 minutes ago, I don't even know if it makes sense, but one quick thing to think about with as far as the perception piece that we were talking about, and then I also want to come back to something Apostle Hunt said about the agony piece, as far as us mentally. But one quick piece about perception, like why is it only the onus is on us? Why? It was a piece I saw a few weeks ago by Trevor Noah, who I feel is a brilliant brother. If no one's read his book or heard his story, really need to check Trevor Noah out. Because he brings a lot. I feel like America, in a way, is still going through our apartheid in a lot of ways, and he brings that perception over across the waters that we need. But anyway, he made a really good point about look at the perception. Not only Jabari mentioned about Black men in the news, look at the perception of police in current television. All of the shows that we grew up on, NYPD Blue, Cops, you know what I'm saying, even up to now, you know, CBS, ABC, all the major networks still have a big portion of their programming is cop shows, cop-related shows. And look how cops are always lauded and praised for bending the rules, being a little too aggressive, for making assumptions, and, oh, we'll fix it later. You know, so I could go on and on in pop culture, music, TV, movies. That piece really impacted me because he was talking about how challenging our cultural norms today can help bring about that change on the other side. Again, it shouldn't be all on Black people. You know what I'm saying? It really shouldn't. Another piece I wanted to mention as far as helping to change and even kind of relating to marketing the challenge and all that, let's talk to white people. That cannot hurt. I feel like in a lot of ways, the agony that Apostle Hunt mentioned as far as what we feel on a daily basis, they don't necessarily need to feel that, but the annoyance within that agony that we always feel, you know, the annoyance feel that you feel when you see, yes, you may be scared, yes, you may be concerned, but let's be, you know, 100 with it. we get annoyed being stopped by police all the time. We feel that, I don't know what the exact, that angst, you know what I'm saying, all the time. And quite honestly, you know, I feel like sometimes if we can translate that, people got tired of seeing us marching for so long. They're still doing stuff in Portland, whether for good or bad. My point is, sometimes people get tired of the truth being pointed out. And I really wonder sometimes, no matter how difficult the conversation can be, what if we, in our own time, in our own way, bring that up to the white people in our own community? And it may be annoying for them sometimes. It may be a difficult conversation for them. But you know, what about bringing that to them, sharing personal stories? I'll give you one quick example I didn't think about on the last round of questioning, but you know, I was shooting a music video a few years ago, and it just made me think about, again, the angst and the agony that we're always under. And maybe because I wasn't directly profiled with the people in the music video, we were doing an outdoor shoot, and we told the local authorities, told the cops, police department, there will be weaponry used, prop guns in this video. We went through all the proper channels, legally showed them the weapons. The officer came on scene at the beginning of our day, showed them the weapons. Do you know we got calls from the neighbors multiple times? Now, in a case like that, they're supposed to check things out and then, okay, whatever. Why did we get stopped on our production? And these officers came onto a set with, I'm holding a big old movie camera. Why are you, is there a crime happening that's being filmed with $1,000 lights in the yard? Like seriously, like
music blaring.
Exactly. It makes absolutely no sense. But again, I just think about the crew that day. That's all we talked about for the rest of that weekend. And how young guys, because I brought a few guys that I was mentoring on set with me, you know, about like what they felt seeing the cops literally 7-8 times that entire day, production day. One of the cops came 3 times. One of the officers came 3 times, and he said, my shift's about to end, but I'll make sure the guy who's replacing me for this area knows you all are here. The next guy came another 4 times. And again, every single time, I could see it in the young dudes' faces. They were annoyed. They were feeling that agony, that angst. You know what I'm saying? It could have, thank God, none of the incidents or interactions ever went south whatsoever. But my point.
Uh-oh.
Oh.
I think he got stuck.
Oh man, they done tapped his line. That brother was too real.
Any way we can translate that?
There it is.
There you go.
You went out a bit.
No, I'm sorry. Is there any way we can translate? That's all I'm asking. That first started within the community of white people that or Caucasians or the people in power that we know on a daily basis. Open question.
Well, I know one of the things that I did, so, and it all starts in your community. I like others, participated in marches, and actually my very first march was this past summer. And one of the craziest things is after the march, it was just empty. It was the one in Washington Park. And afterwards, it was one of the more emptiest feelings that I had. You know, it's like, okay, you know, we marched, we're all out here. And now what? Like, you know, you go home, it's the same deal. Like leaving, I'm looking at the police. You know what I'm saying? Like leaving this peaceful event, I'm like, am I finna get pulled over? Are they finna be mad? You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, now what? You know, what happens next? And I know like different communities were starting to do things, and I noticed that my suburb hadn't done anything. And so I started reaching out to people, hey, let's organize a march, you know, here. And a group of us got together. We called ourselves the Micah 6 and 8 movement. And different races, diversity, just a bunch of families that lived in South Holland. And, you know, we put this together. We were going to do this march, and we did it. And what we did is I was one of the speakers, and the challenge was to the non-African American people who were out. And it was to, once again, not just to not be racist, not just pat yourself on the back and be happy that you came out and you carried a sign and you support it, but that you now had to act. You had to do something. You know, it's not me, but it's you. You know, you being, you know, a Caucasian male or female, it's your job to have that difficult conversation at the dinner table, whether it's with an in-law or a parent or a grandparent. Have that difficult conversation if it's a group of people going out to lunch at the job or, you know, whatever, where you stand up and you are against it, where you are just as uncomfortable if one of my boys gets stopped by the police as if it was one of your children. You know, if for you to start caring and acting like putting your family and your children in the position of my children. And so you guys have to act. And so I think having those, you know, difficult conversations and challenge people, you know, and speak up and don't back down. But with that, you have to be educated. Like, you just can't be out there, you know, yelling, do this and the other. You have to know, you know, what you're talking about, you know, so take the time out, you know, do the research, you know, and educate yourself. And, but then, yeah, challenge. That's it. Just keep challenging people. You know, I ran into a situation with a group that I'm, you know, a little, you know, I'll just say that I'm a little bit disappointed in that, in a group of organizations right now where, you know, they're all like, yeah, rah, rah. And I'm like, okay, let's do something. Oh, well, we're not going to do anything, you know, political or whatever. And I'm like, well, if it's systemic, if racism is systemic, or if racism is systematic, how are you going to fix it if you don't fix it through governing? Like, if we know, right, that the, you know, the blue line and the police are going to cover for each other, if we know that all these things are in place and it's a part of the system that feeds into the racism that we experience, then how do we fix it unless we put policies, procedures, and laws in place that don't allow those things to happen? Like, you can't fix the system if you say, oh, well, I can't touch the system. I'm not going to touch the system. Well, then what you're saying is that you're going to smile in my face, and then in your own privilege, you're going to go home and have dinner, and I'm still going to have to deal with this reality unless you're willing to step up and do something. And so I think more and more we have to challenge people. You know, you know, many of us, Marcus, you mentioned, like, all of us, I mean, because we're all we have a sphere that's greater than just African American. We have a very diverse sphere, Caucasians, Hispanics, etc. And so I challenge them. I have Caucasian police officers in my sphere of influence, and I challenge them. What are you doing? Like, what is going to happen? You know, you know, I know, and so you have to do that. And if they're really our friends, right? If they're really our friends, you know, come and eat dinner at our house, you know, we'll picnic together, kids will play it. If then you're going to do something, because it would bother you if that was your child. And then we'll find out if they really are our friends, because sometimes you find out that, you know, it was more of a one-way friendship.
It was probably more talk than anything. You probably say it, and then when you're actually presenting.
That's what I wanted to mention. I wanted to mention, okay, when they do find out, and they may say to you, oh, I understand, but they really don't. That's when it goes back to what you were saying about laws and different things that we can do to change, because that was part of my issue. A lot of times I'm seeing us do the different marches and different things and making companies make these platforms or say different things, but what if they don't really feel that way? What if they really don't feel that Black Lives Matter? So then what? So it has to go back to making sure we're doing things for the laws to change or making some type of influence that way.
Okay.
Follow up.
And I'll say this, you'll be surprised. While some people will shy away and choose to be caught, you'll be surprised how many will be like, I get it now. Or you challenge me. You force me to, to say to my father, hey, Pops, blah. And I was like, terrified. Like, I've had people come back to me and be like, hey, you know what? I'm doing it different now. Like, I don't let people say things around me anymore. And, and when those people come back, it's rewarding that, there are people out there that care. And then that helps when you're dealing with, the emotion and the trauma and everything.
One of the things that makes that conversation difficult, sometimes you're dealing with people and they can be friends, but it's hard for them, it's difficult for them to admit that they have benefited from a system that favors them and that has left you out in the cold. And that's a difficult conversation for them to have, because even though they're not racist, they know they benefited from a racist system. And it's so difficult. And that's why some people, some Caucasian brothers and sisters, and I'm calling them brothers and sisters because ultimately, if it's going to change, we're going to have to work with them. Otherwise, you get into this whole conversation about revolutions, and that's not good. But it's going to take us working together, and it's going to take us understanding the system. We got to go the extra mile. And just like you guys were saying, it's not just about marching. We're not done. It's not just about airing your grievances on social media. No, we're not done. We have to take the time to get to understand this system that has oppressed us for hundreds of years, because there's so many loopholes in it, and the powers that be will look at this system and say, oh, but all men are created equal, and you got to pinpoint it. You got to show them where there are loopholes that kind of leave us out in the cold. And if we cannot, really effectively articulate that, then they will be forever pulling the wool over our eyes. So that's my two piece. Y'all are knocking it out the park. I'm just sitting back and enjoying it.
Mathais.
I'm sorry, y'all. Let me put my phone on Do Not Disturb. I'm so sorry, y'all.
Okay.
Here we go. All right. But man, this is such a lot of good content. I wanted to touch on something just kind of concludes everything that we've just been talking about just recently. But the conversation that I had with someone after the first round that we did, we talked about the disparity of what the media portrays the African American male to be. Jabari talked about this last time in detail, and I love the way you articulated that, brother. And y'all really need to understand, and I hope the viewing audience really understands. People think that, once again, it's just either that dynamic between us being an athlete, entertainer, or a drug dealer or gangbanger. They don't understand that it's actually legit working class, career-oriented, family-based men like us that's on this panel that get their money legally. They can work. They're out here really trying to make things happen and trying to grow generational wealth and trying to grow companies. Y'all will be surprised that in these conversations that we need to have with these uneducated people or people that are oblivious to what the African American, just our plight is, they just think that it's just one dynamic to the other. They don't understand that it's this middle ground here. That's upsetting, but that's also some of the conversations we need to have along with this change. They need to understand that, like, panels like this, they need to come in and see what we're doing, what we're talking about, and get educated, and then impose change that way. Kind of let it spread like wildfire, like wildfire. Like JD said, like Pastor John said, like we have to be able to impose change, like through the marches, and as well as like even governmental changes, elections, all that stuff is very important, just as well as having those tough conversations with in-laws and uncles and things like that. We have to be dogmatic about making sure this thing changes, unless we're going to be in a situation where we just keep making these evil circles back to ground one, back, and it's just, we cannot have that. So like I said, for me, I'm taking it upon myself every time I have an opportunity to talk to someone about this difficult subject. I'm going to talk to them about it. I'm going to talk to them. I'm going to let them know that, hey, you know what, these are the things. And like Apostle just said, a lot of them, they know they benefited, so they won't be an ally for us because they know they benefited from a racist system. That has to change. You know, you got to understand you're still on the right, you know, you're still on the wrong side, even when you think that way. So that's kind of my 2 cents, but it's amazing change. And I believe something is really happening with these most recent movements. You're seeing movements all in Berlin. You're seeing movements in London. You're seeing movements all over the world. This is something that's groundbreaking. I don't think we've ever seen this before. Even in the civil rights age, you've never really seen what's happening right now. You have a worldwide movement that's going on, and I'm seeing it right before my eyes. And I'm like, we're all living history. And just to see this happen right now, I believe it's going to be some change. It's going to be hard because you still have some people that just, I don't know if you all saw the lady that had a Confederate flag, and she's like, I'm teaching my grandchildren to hate you, and I'm doing that. I'm like, you still have those people there, but it's going to be an uphill battle or uphill journey, but eventually we're going to see some light, but it's going to have to be us having these constant conversations and us really chipping away at making change.
Love it.
You know, I wanted to piggyback on one thing that Mathais said, and that the Apostle Hunt had mentioned too. And, you know, I had preached a message, man, it was years ago now, but basically it was about how the devil tricks us into fighting a war that doesn't exist. And, you know, it's the analogy is like, you know, look at Star Wars, right? So anybody who knows Star Wars, you know that Senator Palpatine was like the Sith Lord, right? So he was playing two sides against each other. He was the one who was arming like the rebels and the clone, you know, the robots. And then he had, while he was doing that as the Sith Lord, over here, he's in the, you know, in the Senate in the Republic saying we need an army to fight against them. And so he got the army built up. And in the end, both sides disappeared and an empire was left. He destroyed, you know, the Senate, Republic, and he destroyed the other. Or if you look at examples though, in recent movies, the Divergent series, if you have any teenagers that read books where, you know, each person is in a different clan and you're a different group, but then you find out at the end of the book series that it was all a setup. There was a whole nother group of people that put these people in these little groups and had them fighting against each other to see what would happen. And so what the devil has done is he has people thinking, you know, you'll have white people that think, oh, I don't really want to admit that the system is broken because then I'm going to lose something. Like I'm going to have to give up something and lose to Black people.
Or,
right?
or at least acknowledge that it hasn't been a level playing field.
Right. Exactly. Or it's somehow.
Hang on, because when you learn something, when you understand something, when you acknowledge it, then you gotta do something.
Yeah.
And they don't want to lose those benefits.
Right. But it's not just that, right? Think about it. That means that if you can step back and put yourself in their shoes, like some people work hard, Black, white, whatever. They work 12-hour shifts. They've done this, they've done that. And in their mind, even though they know that the system, you're trying to say that my hard work didn't have anything to do with it. Like that's the lie, right? That the devil behind the scenes is perpetrating, right? And so what happens is they don't want to hear about the system because it invalidates their own identity, who they are, what they've done, what they feel like they've earned and worked hard for. And then on our side, we're like, man, no matter, I could work twice as hard as you and I'm still not going to have the opportunity. You know, I could do this, that, and the other. And so the enemy wants us to be mad at them, right? When in the end, if everybody just acknowledges the truth that the system is broken and that it has been an error, you don't have to lose, you know, the Caucasian person doesn't have to lose anything. If anything, it makes society better, right? If your next door neighbor can get a better job, then they're going to put more money into their home. They put more money into their home was worth more. Now your home is going to be worth more. You see what I'm saying? If they make more money, then if your next door neighbor makes more money, then they pay more taxes, then your kid's school is going to be better, right? Like everybody benefits if every segment of society has an equal chance. But the enemy doesn't want us to see that. They want us to be one against the other. And that's the reason why they don't want to, you know, I don't want to see the truth, right? Because I've been lied to. So not just lied to about who we are, but lied to about what their worth is. Think about the concept of what white America, you know, oh, we're America. We build and we, you know, drive a truck and we, you know, and we work hard and, you know, I'm doing this and that. And then if this whole like mystique and identity of who you are is destroyed, and it's like, yeah, you work hard, but the dude next to you worked twice as hard and he will never have a shot because of the color of his skin, right? Who will, even if he works the same job, makes the same money, which we know isn't true, he's still going to be behind you because his parents weren't allowed to buy property in the same area as your parents because of redlining, right? Because, you know, his grandparents weren't able to own property. I look at people, I used to wonder, I used to wonder, how come this person that I work with in the office can do things that there's no way in the world I could afford? And then I realized, you know, when I got married, my parents weren't able to give me $10,000, $20,000 for the down payment in my house. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't have, you know, this war chest that, you know, because they were able to get their house cheaper because of their grandparents who sold their house, right? So then you get, the more money you put down, the lower the interest rate, right? So then my $100,000 house and the next door neighbor's $100,000 house, it'll cost me more each month than it costs them. Because I barely could put the 5%, you know, the 5% down, you know, scraping things together. I had to work and, you know, try to put money to the side. They graduated from college and they got it as a gift, right? And then her parents gave it to her as a gift. So now they got $20,000 and they can put 10% down and furnish the whole place.
Wow.
And they're already going to be ahead. Now they're going to save what? $200 a month in a mortgage note because of a lower interest rate and lower over 30 years.
Yeah.
System.
That's that whole system. Exactly.
That's $640,000 if I did the math really quickly right in my head. I mean, that's $500,000 that you're ahead of me.
Too much ahead of you.
That goes for education too. You know,
and it goes for exactly
neighborhoods and get your advanced degrees, but you didn't have to take out loans because
there
it is.
Dad and granddad and grandmom and all of them, and they paid for that. So you didn't come out of school with $150,000 in debt that you got to spend 15, 20 years paying back. That's money free and clear. So yeah, I mean, that, like you said, the system, that systemic, it builds upon each other. You know?
And you don't want them to feel bad. You just want them to acknowledge it, right? Just acknowledge it, and then you can address it.
Right.
I saw something. Let me say this real quick. I saw something, and then I'm giving it to you, Annette.
Okay.
That said that we, as a people, are really like 8 generations behind. financially. Financially, we're 8 generations behind. Just talking about what Pastor was just saying, how you know, our parents weren't able to give us the head start or the cushion or just the assistance that our counterparts received. We're like 8 generations behind. So, and that's indicative of the system.
Yep.
So go ahead, Annette.
And
Matthew, I want to hear from you.
I like this conversation about the system. I'm of the mindset that when we talk about the system being broken, I always kind of like to clarify from my viewpoint that the system itself is not broken.
right, yeah,
The system is broken because it was created by broken people.
right.
But the system
right.
isn't broken.
It's
The
doing
system
exactly what
is working what it's supposed. It's
Exactly
doing
what it's
what they
supposed to do.
created it to do.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's part number one, or point number one. Point number two, as we were kind of discussing about assigning accountability, Mathais mentioned it, Marcus mentioned it when talking to non-Black people that we work with, colleagues, coworkers, and things like that. I am one that kind of tells this illustration and assigns accountability before I decide to put my name to anything. I've been on so many Zoom calls at our regional level, at our complex level. I've been asked to also speak on another Zoom call to all of the members of the private bank in our region on Wednesday, again, about race. But before I jump into any of these conversations, I kind of give this illustration where me and the individual that I'm talking to are on our way to a wedding. You know, we're both dressed up, you know, we got white suits on, we're on our way to a wedding for like a colleague. And all of a sudden, I fall into a puddle of mud. And the other individual who is with me has a decision to make. They want to help me. They need to help me. How do they help me? There's 2 main ways that you can get me out of that puddle of mud. One is you can reach in and pull me out. The other way is that you can jump in and push me out. And what I have assigned as far as accountability is that for so long, I've been having people reaching in to pull me out, and I'm the only one that shows up to the wedding dirty. What we're going to start doing is we're going to both start showing up to the wedding dirty. If we are both not showing up to the wedding dirty, then you have told me, exactly, you have told me everything that you need to tell me, number one. This is just lip service, number two, and I will not be involved, number three. So that's kind of where I start. So I got all of these people emailing me like, let's get dirty. I'm ready to get dirty. Which I love because we have so many people that want to help, but they don't want to assume any deficiency in how they're viewed.
Right.
You know, like you were talking about earlier, you want to help the system, but you don't want to mess your money up. So that's a couple of the things that were on my mind.
That was deep. That was very deep. I think everybody said it was like, whoa, okay. Never heard it put it that way. Very profound. Very profound.
Yeah, I'm still in that.
I'm sorry?
I said I'm still in that. I'm putting that tool in the toolbox. Yeah.
Make sure you put MLA at the end of it, all right? Okay.
Yeah, I got you.
Coach Corn, talk to us.
You know what? This has just been a powerful segment. I'm probably more so a fan, just watching, listening to everybody. Man, Matt just brought the heat. I don't know if I want to follow that. You know, the one thing I've been thinking about, and you guys are talking about, you know, pushing an agenda forward. And I was just wondering, like, you know, if you notice every movement that we've started or something that we're fighting for, there's always a propensity for violence. You know, when we're trying to do nonviolent, peaceful marches, we're still getting slaughtered. You know, I'm watching SUVs as people are marching peacefully, you know, trying to explain why we're marching and what we're doing. I'm watching people get innocently murdered, you know, and I look at other movement or other causes that have nothing to do with race. We can march for dogs. We can march for children feeding the hungry, and those people are not getting killed and slaughtered to express their viewpoint. And I think that's one of the things that even, you know, when you're trying to become transparent and really get people to see this is what we're talking about, even in the act of showing or trying to get people to rally around the cause, there's still, our lives are still being threatened. You know, there's still a huge risk in even fighting for just justice, you know, and racial equality. And even in that, that's a problem, you know, because you're trying to get people to understand where you're coming from. So like what Matthew was saying, hey, you know, in order for me to get dirty with you, you know, there's still a threat that you may lose your life getting dirty with me and trying to explain this is what the problem is. So in that moment, or in the actual getting dirty process, you could become a victim of your own freedom, you know? And it's just, to me, that's just, it's amazingly, it's a stark contrast because, you know, you're trying to get people to understand where we're coming from, but oh my goodness, man, just, you know, to talk about so many different things and so many things that has to change. There's so many risks, you know, that we have to go through. Like, you know, when we want to be outspoken, even myself included, I'm always thinking about the other shoe. Like, hey, okay, at what risk do I put my family, you know, for me being outspoken? You know, will I have a job next week to provide for my family if I'm this outspoken? So I'm always thinking about, you know, I want to be a part of the movement, but I mean, I have 3 children. I have a wife. I have certain things that I want to make sure these guys can at least live comfortably, you know. So it's always a risk. It's a risk reward, you know, and it shouldn't be that way. I should be able to freely express my concerns and not be viewed by my colleagues as something as a, you know, like Mike was saying, being militant or feeling like, you know, I'm a threat. So those are the things that I constantly wrestle with. I don't know if anybody else wrestles with that, but I'm just being honest. That's what I wrestle with, you know. So when you're trying to speak up, you know, it's like, if you speak up, well, you get jacked up, you know, and it's like, that's kind of how I feel. But no, this is some great dialogue, Annette and Apostle. I love this dialogue. I'm just really being nurtured and learning. So if I'm quiet, I'm really just learning from these distinguished gentlemen on this panel. So man, this is awesome.
Good. Now you sound like Marcus. He said he gets quiet and he's learning. But you know what? I'm glad you went that route and you were honest and transparent, Cornelius, because as I believe Elder John was talking, and he said we got to get out and we have to talk to the non-blacks. And I was going to ask the question: how many of you all feel comfortable with doing that? You know, is there a hesitancy there, and what is it? Is this something we can overcome? I see you, Zori. You want to answer that?
Yeah, I was going to say, for me, and actually probably for all of us on this platform, one of the things that we have in our favor is that we're Christian men. So in every decision that we're making, we're most of us are probably at least going to God for wisdom on how to handle the situation, on who to work with, who not to work with. And for me, I realized that I may not be able to maybe be at every march. I may not be able to help in certain situations, but there are things that I can do. I'm a great mentor. Like I said, in my role as a sponsor of Afro Club, I'm bringing awareness. I'm helping others find resources. Uh, so, and again, like one of the big things that I want to make sure we do when we get back, well, if we don't get back to school, is show our students how to register to vote. You know, a lot of our young people don't vote or don't know how to, how that process works. So my job will be to educate in so many ways. So we all have different assignments and there's different ways we can help. So I will say be aware of the assignment on how you can help through this process of making change.
I like that. Jabari?
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing I think that now, because of everything that's going on, it's one of the great opportunities in history to change the way things have been done, to change, what our society is called normal throughout this time. And the biggest way I can think of, or the biggest example I can give right now is through education. And, all these school districts are having these issues about whether we're going to have remote learning or in-person learning, and, because of the pandemic. But outside of that, I think, the way that we've been taught, or the way that districts have been structured, and the way that we've been taught through the years, this is a good opportunity to look at that and see, has that been the most effective way for, our kids to learn? And, can we change that? The model that we're facing right now, has been the same model that was done in the 50s and the 40s and the 50s. And, you got your reading, writing, arithmetic, and all of that, and you go to this class, you go to that class. But, if there's just ways that we can, change how we're being taught, what we're being taught, obviously, and, and just the way we're being taught, you can get and grab and keep a lot of children and, educate them better. And, that helps everybody rise. But I think part of it is that, there are certain groups out there who don't want that to happen because, they don't want our children to learn and become educated, understand financial literacy, understand, these other things that just aren't taught in schools, the way they should be. And, I think this is a good time. This is a good opportunity to, to kind of look at that and see what we can do to change that, and, see how that can help us. So,
okay. Thank you for that. Because I like what you said, Zori. You're going to have to know what you can do yourself. I'm summarizing what you said. You yourself, you're an educator, so that's what you said you're going to do. You're going to instruct, you're going to educate, that way. So we all have to know our roles. John Elder Purnell he sounds like he's forceful with what he's going to do. Everybody may not be that way, or may be able to go that route to get something accomplished, to make that change. And it's okay. But as long as you know yourself, then, and what you're capable of, then I believe that change can be made from there. So then you may be able to partner with each other, whatever. Well, John can run out and be that voice, just like John in the Bible, right? Be that voice and run out and ask those questions, of the whites or non-blacks. Matthew, and I think Marcus said you have a group that you are mentoring these young men. So that's making a change. That's doing something. So, I mean, I think that's something, and I'm sure this show didn't make you just think about, I need to make a change, but we need to make a change. There needs to be something we can do, whether it's on a small or big level. We have to do it. Marcus.
I would, as you said that, everybody's platform are different. We have different size platforms. And, to your point, you have people that are radical, and ready to go. You have some people that are reserved, but I would just encourage everybody, push your platform. You never know what that can do for people. And when I say that, push your platform, it's anytime somebody comes encounter with you, there should be an experience that they leave with. And that experience changes the dynamic of how they view us as Black men. You know, I recently had a contractor come to my home and do some work, and they literally asked me my age. They saw that I built my home, and they were like, "How old are you?" And I was like, at that time, before my birthday last week, I was like, "I'm 34." And the look on their face was like, "Dude, are you serious?" You know, and it wasn't even a humble bragger. It was just literally them saying, "Man, that's an encouragement. That's an experience. That's something that I can take back." And then most people, as we see, you know, I even think about Michael Jordan. We say he was always quiet with his platform. And at that point, I thought about it. I said, I'm not going to be quiet with my platform. I'm going to offer them assistance or help or anything like that. And I actually even talked to the contractor it was a Black-owned contractor I wanted to support. And we started talking about different things. And I started asking them, did you get the SBA loan that was just out recently? And they were like, no. I'm like, dude, I'm logging into my computer right now in the office that you're painting, and we're going to help you apply for this loan. And if you need it. But I think that was the thing that, you know, make sure that you push your platform. It doesn't have to be all the way out on the stage in front of millions of people, but even if it's just that one experience that you can create that makes somebody leave and say, that is a good brother right there. That's somebody that cares. That's somebody that wants to go the extra mile. I don't even know dude's middle name or last name, but he used my computer and he literally called me, and his wife called me and said, man, you didn't even ask for nothing, you know? So just being a good citizen, and I know we hear that, but push that platform, whatever your platform is. Don't expect, that door to open. When it opens, take it. When it's there, take it. And I just wanted to comment off that, Annette. Like you said, everybody's not there, but I know you can have that intimate moment with someone that could change their mind of how, or that perception of how they do it. So I just wanted today to really be an encouragement that we can use the platform we have, but every time somebody leaves, they should feel an experience. Like, man, that was an experience, and understand that it's not just one side or the other. This is what we do, and it's always it's genuine, it's organic, and that's how you should always leave that interaction.
Love it.
Yeah. Hey,
Michael,
and I
just started off this whole thing throwing out that question about this change. Do you want to add anything else?
Who started that? Oh my, yeah.
I called on you, Michael.
Oh, my bad. I'm sorry. Yes, I totally agree. And again, this has been great. Like, the first one was great. This was even better in a lot of ways. I feel like this is amazing to hear ideas, but also like game plans, actual actionable ideas. You know what I'm saying? Not just talk, not just going over the scripture with my wife earlier, like the clanging brass and tingling cymbals. You know what I'm saying? That has a spiritual context, but you know, our community, we can talk. So sometimes it's good to have a conversation where it's not just talk. And you know, I'm even, you know, I told Marcus this and Matt, like, I want to do more to even like help you guys organization. You know, it's those little things that where we can kind of get this idea, this mindset permeated and multiply into multiple, you know, young guys. That's what we need, like, for real. Like, I saw this quick video, just kind of piggybacking off of what Marcus said. Snoop Dogg, I'm kind of excited to see that new Master P documentary that's coming out soon, because he talks about the power of ownership a lot. And kind of how Marcus was just talking about impacting. Snoop told a story about how Master P called him up and said, hey, I want you to come down to New Orleans. So Snoop brought a couple of his boys and his father. They put him, picked him up from the airport in a truck or whatever. And he said, next thing you know, is he's driving through this like gated community of mansions. And he said, Master P was like, pick any one of these, like a cul-de-sac of mansions, basically. Pick any one of these. And I guess Snoop's thing, I'm kind of paraphrasing, he thought maybe to stay in or whatever. Master P said, whichever one you want, I'm going to buy it and put it in your name for you. And at that point in time, Snoop Dogg is already, you know, he's an artist. He's been on the scene, but you know, looking real quick, the dichotomy of working with the folks at Death Row Records and actually, you know, working with someone like Master P, who's all about real ownership. And by the way, look at where, you know, what's the name is now versus Master P, where forgetting his name, you know what I'm saying, Death Row.
Good night.
Yeah, look where Suge Knight is versus where Master P is. But anyway, long story short, the power of ownership is impacting people and putting that, like Marcus said, I'm going to do this for you. And then you can go and multiply and do that. That's one of the first things I can just only speak from my experiences. I walked in there, me and my brother walked in the White House almost 6 years ago now. And we were like, who are these dudes? Who are these young black guys? I'll never forget an older gentleman, two guys, been working in the industry for over 20 years, brought us to the side after they saw that we were serious and we were coming regularly and doing an upstanding job. They pulled us to the side and they said, I want to help you whatever way I can. All you got to do is promise me that you take the next Mike DuBois and do the same thing with him. And those types of mentalities, we can do everything we talked about today is fine, it's great. Talk to white people, you know what I'm saying? Demand change and action of our government, God in the picture, everything, great. But we also got to make sure we're coming together and helping each other. Because nobody's going to want to help us.
Love it.
And real quick, I'm a girl dad, help the women.
Help the women.
I'm just going to say this real quick. Breonna Taylor's killers still have not been arrested. And I just think about that. That's not just a point that we need to just take lightly. You know what I'm saying? Her boyfriend fit the description. And he was arrested with murder charges, not knowing if he would get out or not. Just trying to protect his home, protect his girl. So just think about that. You know, we need to also make sure with that community helping each other. Yes, it's a black male thing, and that's great. I'm glad we're here showing an example, but let's also make sure we're there for our black women as well.
Love it. Love it. Mathais, give me something.
So I definitely think that you have posed a question in that as far as like, should we feel empowered to talk with people that may be just unaware of what's going on? We should very much feel empowered right now, just off the series of events. But I would say we should also feel empowered by the amount of education and information that's out here right now. So for instance, like, let me be honest with you, in the last 2 to 3 years, I never knew about Juneteenth. I never knew about that. And so now, even with that, we are exposed to a lot of information right now that has that over the last 400 years that has explained, you know, the plight of the African American race. And we need to be able to get educated, as that's been a talking point on today's panel. Get educated, but we also need to take that education. And this is another way that we can impose change and have and throw that and infuse that education inside of those tough conversations. That when people are trying to say, no, it's always been this. No, it actually hasn't. And and I can show you based on the education and history and things like that. So we need to be more empowered, be able to speak with authority, speak with clarity, and speak with intention, you know, when it comes down to really trying to impose this change. Because conversations are going to really do that. And then those conversations, those people are going to go and have those other conversations with those other family members or friends and be like, man, did you know that African Americans did this? Did you know that African Americans invented this? Did you know that they went through this and I didn't have to go through this and blah, blah, blah. So that's the thing. Everybody, and even the viewers, everybody should feel empowered from this day forward, because there's information out there that's out there that's substantial, that we've never been exposed to in the school history books. It's been tossed away. It's been buried. Hasn't even been mentioned. We have to take that now and use that to our power to be able to educate everybody that's out there. Because that's a lot of people. They're so ignorant to what's going on. I mean, and so they stick to this racist mindset, thinking that what they're believing, what they're doing, or what they stand on, but it's flawed, you know, as well too. And so we got to be able to take that and the knowledge that we have and use it to our advantage. So that's really all I have to say. But I'm telling you, everybody needs to talk with authority, especially now.
Make it your story.
Yes.
I heard that as you were talking. Make it your story.
Right.
Apostle, I know you've been eating this up, haven't you?
Yes, I have, and I'm gonna tell you, y'all have been so thorough. I had some questions that I was gonna ask. I didn't even get a chance to ask my questions because you guys were already answering them. You know, so it was like a moot point. Why do I even need to ask the question? You guys were very thorough, and I so appreciate.
Okay, now you done stopped on me.
Did I stop?
You
Am
did.
I back?
Now you're back.
I'm back. But I enjoyed the different points of view. I just really, really enjoyed this conversation.
Okay. I don't know why your video acting up. You haven't said much, and then as soon as you talk.
Conspiracy.
That's the first thing we'll go to. It's conspiracy. John, I think you want to make a quick point before we wrap up, or do you remember?
Yeah, no. I just want to piggyback real quick on what Marcus was saying. Just everybody do, what your part is, and my son is goes to fame with Marcus and Matthew. And everybody can do something, and I think that's the big thing. So anybody who's watching this online, anybody who sees it, you don't have to try to go out and be a wonder or change everything. Just start with something simple. Just try to impact the person that you bump into, impact somebody, where you live or where you work, and then just start from there. I mean, I never would have thought that I would have started a high school. I never would have thought that I'd be a youth pastor, right? All these things start with little things, taking people camping, going rock climbing, just starting with just little things. And then you put it in God's hands and then let God take it from there,
White water
Now see, I'm looking at the guys and I'm saying, don't y'all start.
Corn didn't get dirty.
Corn
didn't get dirty. He didn't show up to the wedding dirty with Mike D. I'm just saying.
Now I know where Matthew got the story from. Okay.
I heard the story.
I know our viewers are probably like, what are they laughing about? It is totally an insider. It's an inside joke. We don't have enough time to tell you guys about it.
No, but yeah, just start with the small things, and God will build it from there.
He'll definitely do that. Definitely do that. Let me do this. I'm going to recognize just some names that were on here on tonight. I do appreciate all of you for joining us on tonight as we have brought this second session of I Fit the Description. I see you, Sandra Richardson, Beverly Jeffries, Karen. Is that Quinan? If I've mispronounced your name, please forgive me. But I appreciate you for watching. I see you, Adele. I see you, Dr. Hunt. We played this today. I also see, everybody okay? These are family men, so they have children in the background. Moni is here. I see you, Deacon Greg, Byron Hill, Michelle Thomas, Wanda B, Miss D, Stefan is on. I thank you for watching. Darcy, Deanna, Cornelius Blackney. I think I mentioned Karen. Yvonne, thank you for watching. Tamara, let's see. Brandy, Joe McCord, Amanda, William. Oh, goodness gracious. Robin is on the line. Anita, Prophet Laguerre. Did I say that right? That is title. Okay, thank you. Pamela, what was that? Apostle? He's an apostle? I think that's what he's trying to say. Come on back in. Just come on back in. Let's see. Ryan House is on. Ryan said he would have given some great insight and conversation. Ryan, you could have typed it in for us on tonight. I appreciate you for watching, though. Pastor Kenneth Lockhart is on. We do appreciate you all for watching. I thank each and every one of you that did share the live feed. So thank you so much. And as I stated, once we end the YouTube, the video of the YouTube will be uploaded, but we were on, the audio was on the YouTube as we were live on tonight. I can't thank you guys enough. You know, again, I'm looking at your comments here, guys. Teddy Riley spirit. What was that, Cornelius, real quick? What's Teddy Riley?
So
explain that, dude. Explain that, dude.
It's a running joke. So, oh man, it was it was Teddy Riley and Babyface. This was like early on in the quarantine. They had like this verses where everybody had the hits, and you know everybody going through their hits. So apparently, you know, Babyface was real chill, just played his catalog, and Teddy Riley had like this big production. Like he's got a DJ behind him, raised stage, and like he's just gonna just wow us like one man band. And you know, Babyface is playing his music, and we get to Teddy Riley, and we getting ready to hear all of his hits. You know, we talking about 80s babies and you know 90s kids trying to figure out, oh, he's gonna play this hit, and we can't hear him. Like he's got this elaborate sound guy, and he's really just we can't hear him. So the running joke on Zoom meetings, like if your sound goes out, bad internet connection, everybody say, man, you got Teddy Riley sound people. You know what I'm saying? So I was just like, when Apostle Hunt went out, I said, man, it's that Teddy Riley spirit.
We bind that Teddy Riley spirit. We bind it.
So Apostle, you knew what that was? I had no clue.
I knew what it was.
Oh man, I'm sorry. I just love comic relief. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Too funny. But no, this was great, guys. And I didn't even get to my questions, just like Apostle said. You guys were just on point with everything tonight and just piggybacking off of each other. I hope that there was something that inspired you on tonight, and also the viewers as well to make this change, this shift. It has to come about. I haven't seen things on this wise. I'm not that old, but I haven't seen things on this wise. And as might have been Mathais talking about the protests that are all over the world, you know, now. And it's like, you know, my eyes are like, really? I'm like, wow. It just, that blew my mind. It really did. So people are ready for a change. So then making the right change and going about doing that is going to be very, very key. So I'm appreciative of what I've heard of each of you and what you're going to do, whether it's in your own profession or you know, whatever you started up. I'm going to continue to use my platform to make a change. You know, if you know, I believe the Lord is willing for me to do that. So yeah, we all have our responsibility to do just that. And we're going to get out of here. I appreciate all of you guys for joining us and your input on tonight. I think a lot of people were just really, really listening because I was taking in a lot of stuff myself as well. So this was just tremendous. Thank you for your time. If we do it again, we will talk about doing something else. Maybe I'll come back and tell me what kind of other kind of changes y'all made or something. You know, we have to keep something like this going.
This is a dream team here.
Tell me about it. Yes, they are. They are. I was going to say something else, but I'm gonna be nice. But yeah, they are. The dream team. Oh, sorry, there you are. Okay. But yeah, you tried to shift something. You was trying not to be like Teddy Riley. Just kidding. Right.
No, I just had to stretch.
Oh, okay. All right. You know, I'm gonna talk about my minister music. I really am.
Don't do me too bad now.
No, I'll call you and talk about you. No, just kidding. No, this was great. Thank you all. You're family men, you're professional businessmen. So thank you again for taking time out. And I hope I didn't miss anybody that wanted to say anything before we get out of here tonight. We're good?
I was just gonna say we really don't fit the description, and that's the whole point.
Woo!
First of all, we're children of the King.
Yeah. See there?
Yep.
Okay.
He got us covered.
Tune up,
He got us
Marcus.
covered. We can go after what we want. A lot of us are successful because we've tied, we've sown, and now we can reap the benefits in our families.
Amen.
So now we just
Amen.
have to help others.
Maybe we need to change the description
Yeah.
or create a new description. Not so much a new description because we've been here, but you know, we need to you know, we do need to like change that description.
Okay. I like that. Thank you. Thank you for that. I see another reason for you to make a change right there, Cornelius. I see him. I see him. That's the second.
Yeah, there he is.
A wonderful reason to make a change. All right. All right, we're going to get out of here on tonight, and we'll talk about another. You want us to see your phone, Jabari? Is that?
I was about to leave y'all prematurely. My computer was about to go out, so just had to get rid of my own Teddy Riley spirit and plug it back in. But as you were saying.
I'm about to end this. I may have to take you when we can go out again, when the world is open, may have to take you guys out or something to do something for you guys.
As long as you're paying, that'll work.
This is the attorney talking, right? Attorney. Probably got more money than all of us. Okay, let me.
See, there you go.
All right. Let me make sure. I see somebody saying, somebody said you're speaking life, Dory. Yeah, I agree with that. Thanks for ending us on that note. That was a note to end up on. All right, guys, we are out of here, and you guys enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you again to my viewers for your time on tonight. Get caught in the net. You guys make sure you meet me on Wednesday at 12 noon Central Standard Time. Monthly health segment with Dr. Shirley Hill of Mathais Nutritional Services. And on Thursday, meet Apostle Deon Hunt on Thursday evening, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time with A&D Conversation. All right. With that, take care, guys.
Bye-bye.